everyone. So, my name is Zoé Vajda. I'm a 21-year-old bioengineering student here at the University of Debrecen. And there is one thing I have to tell you. I'm a recovering laziness. Now, this may sound crazy to you, but for me, to honestly put the word recovering in front of laziness is an incredibly huge thing. And it is all thanks to, well, my parents, of course, and the meaning of only one term out of thousands in the dictionary. So, for 19 years, I was really lazy. I think you can imagine me as something like this. I liked to use the term selective participation, but honestly, that was a lie. I knew I was lazy. About 2 years ago, I completely changed my way of living, and I think I got to a place where I look like this. Okay, this is not really correct. Maybe this would be a better representation of my life right now, since I'm in university, struggling to get good grades to get a scholarship. Yes, that's still a lie. I think my life is like this, because I also try to work and make my own living and pay taxes. So yeah, it's hard. It's really a hard way. But the interesting thing is I never saw my parents to be like this, even though they are really hardworking people. My father is a social worker. He has been teaching in many colleges all around Hungary, and he has been helping underprivileged children to have a good education and a promising life. My stepmother is a pharmaceutical worker. She has just gotten into her second university of psychology, and she has been branching out of her field of study and work and has been doing numerous projects. But for me, they were always so relaxed people. In the meantime, they were working so hard to make a living and bringing up 2 children, me and my brother. And I barely saw them having any problem at all. And yeah, I was happy for them, but honestly, after a time, it just pissed me off, because I was never like them. I felt like I already derailed in life, even though I was just 15. So after a time, they realized I was a bit traumatized, and that's when they thought I was old enough to be involved in their way of thinking. That was the first time they told me about the comfort zone, the term that defines everyone's choices, thinking, and basically way of living. Of course, change didn't come instantly. It is not like that in basically any field of life. It took time. I think the breaking point was my father's game. He had his current group of students stand in concentric circles. They stood in the middle at first. That represented their comfort zone. My father displayed several everyday scenarios, and the students would have to step in the outer circles if they think they would act. For example, let's imagine you are promoted. You would get a sweet raise, but you will have to move to the other end of the world. Would you do it, or would you not? If you wouldn't do it, then you would have to stay in the comfort zone circle. If you would try to do it, you would have to step in one of the other outer ones. After the end of the game, everyone realized that no one actually stepped in the outer 2 circles. And that shows the exact meaning of the game. How little your comfort zone can be, and how it can limit your life. So what is exactly comfort zone? Is this peaceful, safe place you have created ourselves? It has an everyday routine, same family, same job, you know everything about it, and barely none harm can come to you. So it is safe. What is outside your comfort zone? Well, we do not know, but it's panic for sure. We don't know it, it's unknown to us, it's unsure, so we refuse to take that first step out of the comfort zone. But why would we do it, of course? So we just stay in there knowing that you can live a life in there. As I learned more and more, I divided the comfort zone people into two groups. First is the one who don't know about it, and the second, the one who knows about it. Well, of course, if you don't know about it, it's all fine. Everyone starts in this group. You don't know its meaning, you don't understand it. Eventually, you will move on to the other circle, which is the group of people who know about it. They understand its meaning and say, yeah, that sounds good, and I will do that when. And then comes endless list of excuses. When the rain will stop, when the weather will be better, when I will have more time. But eventually you know that those are just excuses. The real meaning of comfort zone, I think, comes up when you have a decision to make. In the simplest case, there are two choices. And you know that one is always, even just a bit, it's always easier. And that is usually the choice that makes you stay in the comfort zone. It's nice. Maybe you have dealt with different problems before, and it's easier to cross. And there is the new way, which is terrifying. You have never been there before. Honestly, who would go here? No one. Why would you leave the safe place for something so unsure? Why? I think it's because generally people don't like change. There's a saying that change is good. However, as I learned, the group of people who are disagreeing with this is still bigger than the group of people who agree with this saying. People generally don't like change, and that is because maybe change is always painful, and it always comes with conflicts. I personally have bad memories, hurtful memories, of people, friends, letting me down. Time moves, I move with it. I try to develop, take new ways to see what's out there for me in life. Some people would say, I changed. Zoe, you have changed. Well, yes, but you didn't. And that's why the friends who I once called to be closest to me, now they barely talk to me. Just because I took new ways, which they called unnecessary or crazy. And that makes you feel isolated. That makes you feel separated from the world and makes you want to crawl back into that safe space that you have created yourself where everything was fine. But is that really what life is about? To step out of the comfort zone is the one hard thing to do. As of that, to make the first step. It's always that first step the hardest to make. To apologize or to forgive. To let something go or embrace it. To think about something or to act on it. Small differences, but it really makes a big difference. The important part I learned, don't get lost in the process. Don't get lost in the getting ready part, because that I consider my worst habit. For example, I read somewhere that Meryl Streep, only needed 4 or 5 hours to really get into her famous character of Miranda Priestley for The Devil Wears Prada. To really get the character to study most of the lines, only 4 or 5 hours, that's amazing. Well, as a comparison, it took me 3 hours today, prepare only the look, so hair and makeup, for my role for tonight as young-looking female. That is my worst habit. I'm trying to work on it. I took the first step. And if you have ever taken that first step, you know that there will be more and more first steps, which will equally be as hard as the first one. But why don't we take that first step? Why? We think we have this imaginary clock next to us. We measure that, okay, we still have this much time to act. But that clock has the tendency to stop. Just like that. And just like that, you have no more time. I was there, I was sitting next to this imaginary clock, knowing that I had absolutely no idea how much time I have left to do that insane amount of things I have imagined. And I was there, 19 years old, just about to graduate from high school, knowing nothing about life, not knowing what to do in life. But since my parents had told so much about the comfort zone, and I was literally at 0 point, I took my chance. I took a field of study, even though I was not sure if it's going to be a successful choice. I miraculously found out I was accepted as a state scholarship student. I moved from my parents to a completely different city, which I have been only once before. I moved into my dorm room, knowing absolutely no one, and it was terrifying. That first step out to life. But then I got into uni. I discovered my friends. I got 2 good jobs in marketing, even though that was not my field of study. And I guess I wasn't bad at it because not even they didn't fire me. They promoted me after 2 months. And I moved from my parents. I started to make my own living. I paid for my very first vacation at the age of 20. And I heard my stepmom say for the first time that she's honestly really proud of me. And that is still the most hauntingly beautiful thing I have ever heard. Now I'm here as the individual. But honestly, the interesting thing about comfort zone is that it can be a problem on a global level. Countries, nations, social groups. To accept one another, to get to really know one another, that is way out of their comfort zone. To accept different cultures, different ethnic groups, and that is a really relevant problem for today. It's still out of their comfort zone. Just because a group of people heard something bad about another group of people, they develop fear. Fear from the unknown, from the different. So they just stay in this circle of denial, of the safe place, and they refuse to let anything in, or they refuse to step out of it. Tonight, I'm standing here as a nation and as an individual. And I consider myself the luckiest person to be told about the comfort zone at a really young age, because if my parents didn't tell me about it, I wouldn't be here. Physically and mentally, I would not be here. And there is nothing I would regret more than that. I think throughout my presentation, all of you had an idea for the future, a dream in mind. Maybe just thinking about it or thinking about acting on it. And for you to have that thought in your mind now, that was exactly my purpose. Thank you.